July 2025. A Dutch medical lab is hacked. Nearly 500,000 of women's most private data is stolen. Names, ID numbers, addresses, and even cancer screening results. For the headlines, it's just a number. But behind that number are real people, like Anna. She's 32. She's waiting nervously for her cervical cancer screening results. Instead of peace of mind, she finds out her medical records, including her test results, are now in the hands of cyber criminals, with threats to leak them online. This is not just a data breach, it's a breach of trust, of privacy, and of safety. Today, I will take you inside how this happened, what went wrong, and the lessons that security managers and CISM candidates must learn from it. This is your CISM Minute with Laura, and remember, let's keep security simple. The victim was Clinical Diagnosis NMDL, part of the Eurofins Group, and a critical lab in the Netherlands National Cervical Cancer Screening Program. This is not just another private clinic. This lab plays a central role in a nationwide health initiative that thousands of women depend on each year. When an attacker breaks into a lab like this, they are not just breaching a company. They are undermining trust in a national public health program. And that makes the impact far larger than the lab itself. The stolen data was not generic login details or emails. It included names, addresses, dates of birth, and citizen service number, the equivalent of the national ID number. Even worse, it contained medical test results and the names of the doctors involved. Think about what this means. These are not just records, they are intimate details of somebody's health. Having test results exposed publicly does not just create a risk of identity fraud, it creates stigma, embarrassment, and real emotional harm for the women involved. That is why breaches in the healthcare sector cut deeper than almost anywhere else. The hack itself was discovered on July the 6th, but here's the real shock. It was not reported to the National Screening Authority until August the 6th, a full month later. Under GDPR, serious data breaches must be reported within 72 hours. Waiting 30 days is not only a compliance failure, it denies patients the chance to take action to protect themselves, like monitoring for fraud or updating accounts. That delay magnified the damage and raised questions about whether transparency was being sacrificed for damage control. In total, around 488,000 women were affected. That's nearly 500,000 individuals whose most private details were suddenly at risk. To keep the national program running, news tests had to be redirected to another lab. Technically, that kept the services alive, but public trust was already shaken. If the system handling your cancer screening can't keep your records safe, why should you believe any part of the process is secure? And that loss of confidence can be just as damaging as the breach itself, because public health programs depend on trust to function. Like many modern attacks, this was not just about locking files. The hackers demanded payment to prevent a full-scale leak of the stolen data. Reports suggest that the lab already made a partial payment, but that has not stopped the extortion. Criminals are now threatening to release even more unless more money is delivered. This is the double extortion model of ransomware. Even if you pay, there's no guarantee that your data stays private. The criminals still hold the power, and every payment encourages the next demand. Now, let's talk about what failed at the Dutch lab, and there were several serious failures. First, notification was too late. The hack was discovered on July 6th, but not reported until August 6th, a full month. Under GDPR, that's unacceptable. Breaches must be reported within 72 hours. That delay did not just break compliance, it also destroyed trust. Two, weak oversight of a third party vendor. This lab was not operating in isolation. It was part of the National Cervical Screening Program. That means governance and oversight should have been tighter. But vendor risk management was weak. When you outsource critical services, you also outsource risk, and you still own the consequences. Third, sensitive data was not secured properly. We're talking about medical test results tied to names, IDs, and addresses. If encryption, segmentation, or strong monitoring had been in place, attackers might have stolen less or nothing at all. The volume and sensitivity of data exposed shows technical controls were enough. Four, continuity planning fell short. Once the breach happened, services had to be moved to another lab. That's the right decision, but the transition was not smooth. Continuity plans should guarantee patients aren't left waiting even when one provider goes offline. And again, these failures are not unique to the Netherlands. They are common across industries, which is why the lessons for security managers are critical here. From this breach, there are four key lessons every security manager needs to take away. First, notification must be immediate and transparent. Under GDPR, 72 hours is the rule, but beyond compliance, the real point is trust. Patients deserve to know quickly when their personal data is at risk. A 1 month delay does not just break the law, it magnifies harm and destroys confidence. Second, third party risk is your risk. The national screening program relied on this lab, but then when the lab failed, the whole program took the hit. As a manager, outsourcing never means outsourcing accountability. If your supplier is breached, you carry the consequences. Third, protecting sensitive data requires more than access tools. Encryption, network segmentation, and active monitoring are non negotiables when you are dealing with high personal medical information. The sensitivity of the data should match the strength of the controls. And fourth, continuity planning really matters. When this lab went down, services have to be shifted to another provider. That's the right decision, but it highlighted how difficult it is to maintain operations under pressure. Testing your ability to switch labs, systems, or services before the crisis is what makes the difference. These four lessons apply directly to security managers in practice, and they are exactly the kind of thinking that ISACA experts show you on the exam. If you are preparing for the CISM, I have created a free cheat sheet and study packs that will save you hours. They are linked below and they will help you master topics like breach response and risk management. This case hits three CISM domains. Domain 4, incident management, breach response, escalation, notification. Domain 2, risk, assessing third party and vendor risk. And domain 1, governance, ensuring accountability for data protection. On the exam, the right answer often focuses on process first, then technical action. When you face a breach scenario in the CISM exam, especially one involving sensitive data like healthcare, remember this. The priority is not jumping into forensics, patching system, or negotiating with attackers. The very first step is notification and process. GDPR and similar regulations require that the breaches be reported quickly, and ISACA reflects that mindset. So the correct answer is usually activate the incident response plan, escalate to the right roles, and notify the regulator or affected parties as required. Technical actions are important, but they come after the process is triggered. In exam questions, if you are torn between a high technical fix and governance driven response, choose the option that follows the design policy and meets regulatory obligations. That's how ISACA wants you to think. And it is how real security managers avoid compounding the damage. Sensitive data is not just numbers, it represents real people. Protecting them defines whether you are just following a policy or actually leading as a security manager. Now, subscribe for more stories and grab the free resources in the description. This was your CISM Minute with Laura, and remember, let's keep security simple.